All right, welcome and thanks for joining. This isn't a presentation. This is more, I wanted to have a discussion with you about what is working for your AP classes. Chris talked to us about, we had a meeting about like what additional supports we need and that sort of thing. So I thought we'd at least start off by what is working in your AP courses that's getting good results.
Hi everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it's the beginning. The fall is usually, this is my second year, but I learned from last. And so one thing that I realized helped me, I think, make them feel not as worried as to like, oh my gosh, but we don't know. Some of them are new. Others have been here. One of them is not new, but the rest are brand new to AP. So one thing that helped them more than me was knowing what's ahead. So like a timeline and just talking about what we should have by December, by January, and things like that. And also small sustained investigations. So the ones that we did over the summer in the Summer Institute are lengthy, I would say, or it was just a training that was a whole week, but letting them just kind of play with the idea, it really helped. I think I saw a lot of cool things on their sketchbooks. It's just a better picture of what they truly wanted to do in art. So giving them, I guess, letting them know it's okay if it's the first sustained investigation and it's not that great and it doesn't have to be that serious, but they are getting like the idea of what it is. So it's more like the process, it's the journey, not the destination type of thing. It really I only have 5, but it made a difference this year from last, where I was scared. I myself was scared. So they were probably like, well, but that helped me. That's been helping. So yeah, anything else I will gladly write down and take.
All right, so we're talking about what things are working for you in your AP classes.
For me, so far, this is my first year, but I had already known, I've been training my kids up for a while, doing their own art portfolio, mirroring exactly what the College Board has them do. And so that's my semester final for my students. All of my students, no matter what class they're taking. So mine are used to doing that kind of thing. And today we looked at branding, and we were already able to get in the AP art portfolio so that they could actually see, yes, it's just like what you've been doing for me in your art portfolio when you have to turn it in after every project. So that's been good and helpful. And I do have them write down 5 questions that they have about their artwork before they start it. And then sometimes in the middle of it, I'll have them write down 5 more. Also, the other thing that's really, I feel like helping me is I don't sit and hover over them or anything. And I set up but I only have 5, I think, 4 or 5. But I set up in Google Slides an art critique where they are critiquing each other's artwork. So I'll pair them up for like project 1. I'll pair up 2. They have to critique their own artwork, and then they also have to critique the person they were assigned to. And so they're giving suggestions to each other. It's documented. And so that really helps. They know where to find it every single time. And I color code them. So that's helped us. But we only finished project 4, and we're only doing like 9x12 paper. Am I doing too big? Are we doing too big a paper? What do y'all think?
There's no size requirement. There's no size requirement for their papers. They could do all small art or big art. It just depends on what they want to investigate and then the time they have to do it. So I always say, if you got time to work big at home, you're going to work home, work big. If you're going to if you don't have time to do work at home, work small, they pick their own surface and their own sizes for every project they do in AP because it's student driven.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And in my class, I try not to focus on how many pieces they do, but that they are really showing their progress and that they're doing the whole revising. Like we just finished we just did art on cardboard. They got to choose whatever size, but they had to use cardboard. And then like tomorrow, we're going to do like a group critique where everyone goes around and gives each other suggestions on how they can revise it. And then, they have good photographs. And then my next little project will just be revising the one they already have.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's a huge part of the rubric. So I try not to focus on how many main pieces, 9 or whatever, 8, but that they have, the revision, they have experimentation, synthesis, and then plenty of, progress pictures. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they're scoring that art, they're looking at all those things.
Yeah.
Not just the artwork. They have so they have to take pictures every day. They have to take pictures of practice, experimentation, revision's a big one, and so it's not necessarily the outcome of the artwork. It's like what went into it. It's like a science experiment.
Yeah, and one of my students is taking a long time on research, so I had to hone him in because he gets lost in it. He loves it so much. So I had to kind of hone him in a little bit on that. He's listening,
I have a question, if you don't mind. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is that, when you have beginners and, AP students in the same class, how many people are dealing with that? And, how are you dealing with that? Because that's the struggle for me.
I am too.
So that AP should not be blocked unless you just have to block them. They shouldn't be blocked in with any other class. I tell the principals it's like having varsity football blocked in with PE. You would never do that to a varsity football team. Why would you do that to art? But sometimes you have to have them blocked in just to get the class because you don't have the numbers. It's a struggle. So when I did that last year, I went and taught. I separated them and I taught them separately. They were two separate instructions. I instructed one class, and when they were working, I instructed the other class.
Okay, I want to just say this. Last year, all my kids passed and I had 9, and that was my first year. And they were in stacked classes, but they were mostly drawing students, and the drawing students had assignments to do, and they were lengthy. This year I have 2 separate sections of beginner and AP. I have 4 in one and 5 in the other, and they're in with beginning photo students. It is almost like, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. It's becoming really taxing to have 2 classes with AP students in them with beginners as well. In the photography, which is very hands-on because it's all digital and it's all kind of like project oriented. And it's just, I'm struggling with that. This is harder than last year was.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest you have all their lessons on Canvas or Google Classroom so they can read them and then ask questions, the AP kids, because they can teach themselves and then ask questions as needed.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on what Chris said, I've had that situation before too, where I had, and I have my AP drawing 2D and 3D in the same class with like an art 2 or something sometimes. And so, yeah, I have 2 separate projects kind of going on. And I think the hardest part is the day you're introducing what they're going to be doing. But then I did the same thing. I have them, the front of the class is art 2 or whatever. And then the back of the class is all my AP. And then I just literally teach 2 separate classes, kind of like what she said.
I
classes last year is hard.
And I
not
have
ideal, but
4 stack classes, and that's what I always do. I start my one group. I already know what they're supposed to be doing. So like I have 8th grade middle school art. I tell them, okay, remember you guys are supposed to be working on this. It's in Canvas. And then art 1, you're doing this. Art 3, you're doing this. I have somebody pass out the papers, and then I go sit down with I have 1 AP student in 4 different classes or 5 different classes. None of them are in the same class. So that's where that Google came in to play, where, you know, I'm trying to create some cohesiveness together for them so that they can act like they can bounce ideas off somebody else.
And that's one of the things that, the reasons why we're
Yeah,
having
it's-
this is
it's hard
Chris wanted me to bring back, you know, what hurdles are we having? And I knew that scheduling was an issue, but does anyone have AP students blocked in with Art 1?
I do.
I have it with ceramic too, so beginner ceramics with AP3.
Okay,
And I have 2 classes with beginning photography and AP photography, 2.
and we've made, it's supposed to be that Art 1, they absolutely cannot block them in with. So it becomes an issue of scheduling. Like, is there enough students to have their own class? So what are you doing to recruit to increase these numbers within your classes?
Well, and I had 9 to 11 who wanted to take AP, but they're also going to TCC, so that's what cut them out.
Yeah,
What I did last year, I typed some letters, like an invitation, and I told them why, and I handed it to them. But the problem is, these kids, they told me they took the letter to the counselors, and the counselors were just not, you know, acknowledging them. So they just kind of placed them in other things. So beginning of this year, I think only about 3 from all the kids I give letters to are here in my actual AP. The rest came back and they just said, Miss, they didn't put me here. I have choir. I don't want to sing, or, you know, just random classes. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it's numbers, but that's what I tried. Are we able to, example, like end of the semester is well, yeah, it's here. Can we recruit, or is there, it's kind
You
of,
recruit them. You recruit them starting in Art 1. You start in Art 1. You tell them, this is what you're in art now. This is what you're going. If you like art, this is what you'll be in next year. And starting in Art 1, you recruit them for AP. That's how you.
okay. But like example, if I have a really good student right now in Art 1 that should not be there, she's just really good, there's no way I can move her to AP next semester, right? It would be like up to.
No, it's a year class. It's a year class.
Hmm.
So you need them the whole year, but they can't even buy their tests. They already purchased the tests. So it would be like she wouldn't even be able to take the test if you put her in second semester. So
Okay.
they have to, yeah, they buy the tests and all that other stuff. So if you have a kid in Art 1 and they're very advanced and you feel like it could be an AP next year, you can let them skip the middle classes. Because I have kids in AP who are super advanced and they're going to be juniors and seniors. And with teacher recommendation, like the other teachers recommend them. I don't just say, oh, yes, you know, they can skip drawing and go right into AP. I don't recommend it, but if they're always drawing on their own and they're always drawing, they can skip to AP, and that'll help bring your AP numbers bigger so you can get those classes together and not stacked.
Okay.
And then
You know,
I would talk
so-
to my counseling staff.
'Cause you
too,
have
and
to
just
have a-
let the counselors know.
Okay,
You know, talk to the counselors and let them know about the classes that you're trying to, you know, get full, and try to
So
talk your
the
program up to your counselors.
So the counselors put kids in your class, but there's the AP, your AP is in charge of what classes you have. So initially you need to talk to your AP first, the one who's in charge of scheduling your classes, and say, hey, if I have the numbers, because they're going to look at the numbers. If I have the numbers, this is what I would like. I would like to have a full AP class. If I can get 15 plus kids in there, can I have that class on their own? They're the ones who schedule you the class. The counselors just put kids in the class.
okay, can I make a comment? And
They
that,
they don't make your APs do. So you need to talk to your AP about putting the classes there, and they look at the numbers. They won't give you the class if you don't have the numbers.
I talked to my AP, and one of my suggestions to him was that I have the AP drawing and AP 2D students in one class, and I'll just teach one AP class. And so I had already talked to Karen, and I had already talked to David, and it's like, I'm already teaching AP, so I said, we'll get recommendations from all the teachers and maybe get one class. And my answer was this: we would like to have 60 people in AP. We want everybody to teach AP. Everybody should teach their own students their AP. And then if we have one AP class, and then it's conflicting with the schedules, then some kids might not be able to take
No,
it, want to take it, because it conflicts with their other schedules. That's what I was told. So
Well, let
I
me
said,
tell
I
you,
don't think anybody has 60 AP teachers. That's what I said to him, students. I don't know any school that has 60 AP students.
we have more.
How many?
We have more than 60 at our school. I have 55.
And I said to him, maybe Heights, maybe Pascal. I don't know. That's what I told him.
We have more this, but I will tell you, this is what I do, Ann, and it works. So I that's why I didn't want drawing 4 to be cut off our schedule. So drawing 4 honors, let's say you have a painting for or photography for class. So that what that does is a kid who has me for AP, they can also take, like, I have 2 AP blocks, but I stack drawing honors, the honors 4 level classes, which is just drawing for me, into my AP class. And then when the kids take that class, I'm like, hey, you're in AP, and I switch them over to AP. But some of the kids take me twice. So since I have 2 AP classes, some of the kids have me double block. One's drawing 4 and the other one's AP, and they get to have 2 classes. They work on their AP portfolio, and it fills those classes up. So that way I can have 2 blocks versus 1. That way more kids can take my class, because it is hard to schedule around their classes to get you for AP. And never have your AP class in first period, ever. Don't have it first, and don't have it after lunch. Try to have it second or third. Because if you have a second or third period, whether it's A day or B day, the TCC kids, it won't conflict with them. And also seniors who take AP, they don't like having morning classes. They'll get later arrival, then they won't take your AP class. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I think each school
So,
is gonna have
yeah,
unique needs
Mr. Dowse,
I
in
agree with
terms
that.
of scheduling. When I taught AP at Wyatt, I did teach all 3 AP classes in one, because we only had enough kids to be in one class. So as your programs build, I think it would be easier to have multiple teachers teaching. But I think until that program gets built up, which I think a lot of people, we lost some of that momentum during COVID. But you're gonna have to work with your assistant principals on that scheduling. And what's
agree
gonna
with
work at one school is not gonna work at all schools.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But so in terms of recruiting, are there any other DIAs? So far, we have Denise typed up the letter. Krista said start recruiting in Art 1. Jenny said talk to the counselor, and also Krista said that talk to the assistant principal who's in charge of scheduling and try to get that in second or third period, so that, because your seniors don't want to come in the mornings.
I've had good luck with just inviting the students myself, like personally inviting them. Then, and they're flattered by that. So, yeah.
Okay.
So you have the counselors they really have a hard time with AP. They don't even know the difference between AP design, drawing, and 3D. And no matter how many times you tell them, they're not going to know. They're not going to remember. They don't care to remember just because they're so busy. So I tell the kids, just make sure you're taking me next year, and I'll put you in the class. Make sure, get them in your art class. Then you can always move them over to AP. So that's what the counselors told us to do, and it worked, because I go, make sure you take me, so you're in my art class, so I have the numbers, and then I'll make sure you're in the right class.
Okay.
Then I just email the counselor, hey, and I do it the year before, hey, this kid it shows that they're in drawing 3 next year, they need to be in AP art. And then she just switches it. It's real simple. She doesn't have to take him out of a class, another class, or whatever, So that's what she told us to do.
Have your counselors had your students signing up like already? Like our counselor staff
Yes,
already had?
Yeah, we already had a whole slideshow that we showed them, all of our kids. I don't teach her at one, but we showed them, even my drawing kids, I showed them a slideshow, and I advertised, not just my class, I advertised Miss Evans' class, everyone's classes. We advertise everybody's class. Like, hey, you don't have to take me next year, but look, these classes are available to you. We try to get them in art, so keep our numbers up. So, and then I hope they do the same for me. So,
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of additional supports, would you want to have, like a summer flex class that's just about AP? For
Yes.
you guys to
Yes.
work together, or would you rather
Yes.
have that as part of like the school year flex? Or we could also work it into like the August content day. Like, what do you think would be ideal?
I think
like
content.
Krista
day.
had, that's great.
Okay, so who said content day?
Me, I did.
Okay, Melody.
Like it in the summer.
I think it'd be great, like on one of the flex days that we have, like, and you know how we go in our little groups. I think it'd be nice if the AP teachers got together, because I feel like there's a lot of people who have been doing a long time that have a
Mhm.
lot of nuggets of wisdom to help the newer students. Because when I did AP, I called Miss Foster. I said, "Can you come up here?" And she had to come up to the school and help me the first year. You
Yes.
know, it wasn't easy. It's like a foreign.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what
I
month
think-
would be best for that? Is that like the February, the March, or do you want it earlier? Because we have October ones, or do you want two?
Earlier.
Earlier, earlier,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Do you want like an October one and February one?
That'd be
Yes.
awesome.
Okay,
'Cause I think in the beginning,
Yeah, I
it's good to
February
kind
is
of,
where, like, it
get
starts
ideas.
up.
Yeah,
I
the
I
February
don't
is
know
kind of
who
crunch time.
said- I don't know who said AP teachers meet, but when like that is like the best idea ever. I remember the feeling at the AP Summer Institute. It's during the summer, and you walk out of there, or at least I did the second time, just like feeling like, I don't know, everything was just so fresh and so new, so many ideas. And even if you write it down and take so many pictures, eventually there's a million things to do, so it kind of fades. So I think meeting with our own, not people that we're never going to see again, I think that would be really cool. It would just kind of feel less heavy, especially for all of those that are, painting 1 and 2 and then AP all together. Like that's what I have. I think that would be awesome.
Denise, can I ask you a question? Do you
Yes.
have the stuff, you went to TCU, right, with me did you go to TCU with me? I think,
This summer, right?
yes.
Yes.
Do you have the stuff that was sent to your Dropbox from him, those samples?
I have it, but I have it in pictures because I just kept taking pictures with and then I made a note. I can send that to you because I
Ray needs
remember
it
that.
too.
Okay. I don't have access to that. I keep asking for access and no one says anything or
Right.
gives me the access. Yeah. So
We both had the same experience with that, yeah.
yeah. So I can send you everything I have in pictures. It's mainly like the statements and examples and all of that.
Thank you.
Let me write it.
I stay after school Mondays and Thursdays for attendance recovery and open studio. If you want to come to my school anybody, and just look and see what my kids are doing and what they turn in, all that, I'd be happy to help anybody that may feel like they need just to see what another teacher's doing.
Okay.
Thank
I'm-
you.
There at Arlington Heights. And then 3D is so different than 2D, but I do 2D drawing and 2D design, which is another way to pump your numbers. Is you get them in their junior year to design, and then they take AP drawing their senior year. You block those classes together. So have those kids take twice. They help each other out too. The kids who've taken it before, it's the same test. It's just different. The rubric's just a little bit different. So you teach them the same way. And you teach that test to the rubric. You have to stay on that rubric. You can't go rogue because I mean, they're really tight with the scoring when they look at that rubric and score the art. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Okay, so in terms of AP Institute, are your schools sending you every year for that summer one?
No, they won't send you every year. They used to let you go every year, but now they only will send new teachers, and the other teachers, they have a new rule. I think it's either every other year or once every so many years. But
It's several years, and I even fibbed, and I couldn't get in because I was like, I haven't been in
I
years, and they
fibbed.
wouldn't let me in.
I
I
fibbed
didn't
last
get in.
year. The test changed, and I told them, I put on that paperwork that I was a first year teacher, because you know what? I was the first year to teach the test totally changed. And I says the first year I'm teaching the new test.
So do you guys know how many years they make you wait before they'll let you go again?
2, I think. I think 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 or 3. Yeah.
3.
Because I missed it
Right.
this year. Thought I had to wait one more year, but apparently I could have gone this year. But
Okay,
And don't forget, there's some art of education that I took. I mean, they have 3 art of educations for AP training. That's excellent. That if you haven't seen those, you're missing out, because those teachers are top tier teachers, top tier. And their
Okay.
information is like people pay to go to workshops. They're super good and they're free because they're on art of education.
And that would be district content then, right?
Yep.
That's good. I didn't know that, Krista. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
they're
watch that.
they're really good. You just look
Good.
up you just put the buzzwords in there and they're there. They're really good.
Okay, thanks.
I watched one of them twice already because I was like, I got to go back and like screenshot some stuff because they have examples and everything.
all right,
what do you
Krista,
guys?
if you could send me those, I could put out a list to all our AP teachers of those.
Okay, I'll look for them. I made a list before, but I don't know. I'll have to look for, but I can find them again. But they're
What do you
good.
guys- What do you guys do when you have a student that like does so much research, but his handwriting is really poor? Like I struggle reading it.
For
How
AP,
to type it?
it's
It
okay.
can be digital.
He can type it. That's fine.
yeah, for AP they type. They're typing it, and if they see it, if they take a picture and put it in as research and all that stuff, they don't care if they can read it. They just see that they annotated their stuff and they just look at it. They're not going to read that anyways.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Like, if
They're not-
it has to be legible enough for when they read it.
Not if they're no, because what they're gonna
Yeah, they're gonna
the
do their
test, they actually
overall.
type into the test.
Yeah, I know. I saw it today, but he handwrites a lot,
Yeah.
and then he takes the pictures of what he's done, every week. And so I was like, oh, I can't even read that.
Yeah, that information is really for him at that point because AP readers see it that same size. They're not gonna read that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna read they're not gonna hardly read anything that they put in their composites anyways, like their process and experimentation. They're gonna look at it. They're not gonna read all their notes. They don't have time for all that. So it's okay if they can't read it. Now, if you need to read it, I don't know, that's a different situation.
Listen, you guys, I gotta go. I'm in the middle of art club here, so,
All right, thanks, Anne, for your
yeah,
input.
okay. All right, thank you.
All right, I think what I'll do is I will put together a short survey about what kind of supports you want to do. Because really having these like flex classes on those flex days really would only be meaningful to you if you guys all come. Like if you only have like 1 or 2 people, it's not going to be valuable. And so we'll get some consensus on, what times of years you want to do those. And if you want to start out and have one this coming February. In terms of supplies, are your school budgets enough that you're able to give your students enough supplies for AP?
I just have your budget right now. That's it.
Well, most of
But
you
that's
only have my budget, right? But I'm saying do your kids have enough supplies, or has it been extremely challenging, or where are you in with that?
I think we have, if I remember correctly, Mr. Davis said we each had a couple more bucks. We just have to do all these forms. I just don't know how much, but I should be fine, I think.
Okay.
I think so. prepared with your budget.
So I have a quick question. How is the AP budget that you give us, Tiffany? How is it like so much money per student, or how is that done for the AP one?
Right now we just give you a per student, so we haven't given extra money for AP. In the past, we
Okay.
just give you based on just student numbers. And,
Okay.
you know, but before I came, we didn't get any money. And so I think everyone's
Right,
just been
right.
happy. So,
Yeah,
but we
exactly,
want to
yeah.
make sure that we want to see our numbers go up in terms of students passing. And I do not want supplies to be the reason why our students aren't successful. Because we can move things around if we need to get them some additional things.
Well, and I kind of wish, and I know it's just my first year, but I kind of wish I knew how to motivate them, like to work at home on their projects. But I know like some of the guys are working, you know, and I'm actually, you know, I'm kind of afraid for them to take it because I don't know if it's going to come back.
It's when you figure that out, you let us know. These kids, they don't want to work home. I the homework I give them at home to do at home is like make a composite or edit these out, or they can do like more digital stuff at home. But as far as taking their work home, some of them, that's why I say size is really important. I have a whole conversation with them, like, are you going to take your work home? If you can't, then you need to consider what size of AP art you're working on. What quality work can you finish in class? Like at what size? Don't be doing a large art piece for AP if you're not going to be taking it home. So we have that type of discussion.
And I did a little I sat down with each one of them and told them, okay, here's the schedule. I had originally made them make a schedule, but they're not even following their own schedule, you know. But I've showed them, okay, you need to have this many pieces. And I know like they can just show their sketchbook, but I'm trying to make them responsible to where they do actually do, you know, their drawing, not just, you know, all the backup work, but that they actually do plan. I sent home, I made sure they had paper, supplies to go home with them. I said, okay, each one of y'all need to make a project on Thanksgiving vacation. One. Guess what? I had one, my special ed student was the only one who did it. And
Yeah,
so
they don't take stuff for.
What?
Now what you can do is like, you could double block them. Miss Evans, her class, they can't take the stuff home to work on because it's big machinery. So if they're in her AP class, she double blocks them. She has them 2 class periods. So that way they have enough time to finish their art in school. So you can, if they're serious about creating really good artwork and they don't have time to take it home, some people just don't have the space. They have little brothers, sisters, share a room. Not even about time. It's about like, they don't even have an area to work efficiently. See if you can double block them, because some of them, especially seniors, it's easy to double block them now with the block schedule because they have late arrival, early arrival. Double block them, then they'll have a whole another class to work on their art in, and you only give them 1 grade for the AP class. The other class is studio class.
Okay.
So I just take their grade for AP and I double it for the other class. They don't do the drawing. They only do 1 assignment. They just have a studio time. And then also increases your numbers, kids you want in your class. So it's a win-win.
Oh, that is a good idea to do it that way, because I have one student that's an office aide. And I'm like, what are you supposed to be doing? I'm like, well, why don't you just work on your artwork? He's like, okay.
So you can get them as office aides, but I like to double block them because if you get them as an office aide, sometimes I'll take them away from you and put them in another class. But if you double block them, then you actually give them a grade. So then if they're filling one class, they're filling the other class. So it motivates them to make sure they're working. And then if they finish, my kids, if they finish all their AP artwork and they're double blocked, they work on homeworks, like a study hall for them.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of double block kids, but I probably have about 10. And it's great because those 10 kids are not behind. They're ahead of every other kid.
Mm.
And so it's really nice. They get double the help from me, and then they all work big because they have a whole class period to work larger. Miss Evans, all her AP kids are double blocked.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
And if they won't double block you, you can use that Art 4 as a block, you know, where you're having them work on AP in that other class.
That's how I double block them. They
Is you
join
actually use that?
Yeah, they join
Okay.
another art class. And so in that class, they're just in the back or in their little space working on their art, on their AP art. So it just gives me another class to help them out. Usually one class is the AP class. Sometimes they're so big. Like I have one class that has 36 kids in there. I don't get to help them all. But in the drawing class, we only have 20 kids. I can help them in that class. So, but yeah.
And the scheduling drivers say that you're not supposed to have more than 30 kids in your AP classes.
Well, that was an accident. That was because they put 6 of my kids in Miss Evans' jewelry class on accident and forgot to switch them back. And so Miss Evans like, who are these kids? I'm like, those are my kids. So they did block it at 30, but what am I going to tell those kids? No, the counselor made the mistake, so I didn't want to punish them. So since we both have AP on the same block, they just pushed them over to my big class.
Well, that was very nice of you.
Yeah. So that class is too big. It makes my eyes twitch, but they're good kids at least.
All right. Before we close, thank you again for being here. Is there any other parting advice of what is working well for you that you want to share with the group?
Well, I mean, I take the kids every week. They turn in process pictures. Every Friday or Thursday, they every day they're in my class. They take pictures, and at the end of the week, they take pictures of what they did that week. You know, because AP is not a cookie cutter class. You know. They're showing me evidence that they actually worked. And like one of the teachers said earlier, you don't hover over them. You want to give them their space, you know, because some of them will be intimidated if you literally hover over them. But that gives them, you know, evidence that they worked that week, even if they work, some of them work at home better than in school. So they can take pictures of that. But then when you're actually turning the test in, you have all these images to put in your composite for process, experimentation, all that other stuff. You have those physical images that you need, because that's one of the things the kids, the first time they took this test is like they didn't have all the images they need to prove all these points on the rubric. And you can work backwards, you could cheat and work backwards and pretend you did the work, but it's easier to have it done the right way. And so because it's Google Classroom or Canvas, it stores those images for you. Their phones break, something happens, those images are in the cloud. You just pull them down from there. And they can get in their tests now. So yes, definitely have to get in their tests this week or next week or before the holidays. Once they look at that test and they can upload their first, you know, composite and images, they kind of get a big picture what's expected of them. It all solidifies the whole idea. And so then I think it helps them move faster and further second semester. So make sure they look at that test like this semester or right it's before the holidays, because once they see that test, it kind of like, oh, that's why she wants us to do this. Oh, you know, because some of them.
When you're talking about your composite, you're talking about like the sketchbook spread open with all the different like all that stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like it's a collage. It's a fancy word for saying collage. I just composite so the kids.
Thank you.
It's just fancy. I learned it from the Art of Education. Okay. She said composite. Now I say composite. Ooh, collage. No, we're doing composites.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Parting words of advice? All right. Well, thank you so much for your feedback. I'll share with Chris some of this, and then I'll send out Krista's list of Art of Ed supports, and then a survey of when you want to have your get together / flex classes, and we can count them as flex. But it can be your let's plan together and share what's working sessions. Sound good? All right. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.